It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
BYU versus Kansas State. You're going to hear the call right here on KSL News Radio. 8:30 kick. It's Big 12 after dark. Saturday night in LaVell Edwards Stadium. Cannot wait. And I'm excited about this matchup. This is one of those games and matchups, BYU K-State, that I was really looking forward to when BYU was invited to the Big 12 Conference back in 2021. And to get an insider look on the Wildcats, I'm joined now by Mitch Fortner, 1350 K-Man sports director and also host on the Game and Wildcat Insider on 1350 K-Man. Mitch, appreciate you hopping on board here, and I can't wait for this matchup. It should be a good one.
Yeah, and I wish I was making the trip to Provo because I've heard so many amazing things about night games at LaVell Edwards Stadium, but I'm happy to be here.
It's an electric atmosphere, and I am surprised that Scott Draper and the football scheduling folks put this game as maybe game one. I know Mike Gundy was complaining about the Utah K-State lineup in weeks 1 and 2 in the league, but it's a tough draw for K-State, one of the favorites on the road, but they still have the advantage, though, in many respects.
Yeah, and K-State just played a top 20 team in Arizona and won that game 31-7, and then, the next week, then K-State's back at home to host a top 25 team in Oklahoma State. So, even though K-State's the ranked team and K-State's going to be the favorite on the road, I'm not taking BYU lightly. The Cougars are 3-0. They're at their home field, and it's more their time of kickoff. I mean, 9:15 is the latest kickoff K-State has had since 1992 when they played Nebraska in Tokyo, Japan, and that kickoff was at 10 p.m. Central. So wow. 9:30 is the second latest in my lifetime.
Wow. So and that was the game too where didn't Bill Snyder try to he got that game out in Tokyo to simulate a bowl as a part of the foundation building it back up?
Man, you may know that story more than I do because I interview Robert Lipson, who's the K-State super fan, and he has said something about that, but I'm not exactly sure the full story. I just know Coca-Cola made it happen and K-State lost that game and continued their losing streak against Nebraska that lasted about 30 years.
That's pretty cool. Talk with Mitch Fortner here on KSL News Radio, getting ready for BYU and Kansas State. I'm curious, Mitch, will there be a large contingent of K-State fans, you think, in Provo?
So what K-State fans are famous for is traveling in droves. I know for a fact a couple of friends of mine actually left on Tuesday to go out to Provo to maybe get a couple of extra days in the Salt Lake City area and check out the area because around here in Kansas we have hills. We have no mountains, just hills. So, we're not used to these kind of road trips into the mountains. At least we haven't for a while without Colorado in the conference. But I don't have an exact number for you, but K-State fans do travel extremely well. So I would expect a pretty decent amount of purple, not only just at the game, but tailgating and hanging out some extended days in the area.
Looking at the field, on the field for this K-State team, 3-0 coming into the matchup, and you laid out that impressive win, 31-7 over Arizona. Where have you seen maybe the improvement offensively with Matt Wells and Connor Riley calling the shots on this offense? Where have they improved the most, you think?
I would say in the running game so far, and you have to give credit as well to Dylan Edwards, who transferred in from Colorado, and DJ Giddens. I mean, when he became a starter last year, he was used to backing up Deuce Vaughn, and it was more of a shared, who had the hot hand with Trayshawn Ward, who's now with Boston College and doing an amazing job. But now since he's the guy, and also you have Avery Johnson, who's just such a smart quarterback, and he's able to run the football as well. Running the football has been a major spark so far this year, and I had the feeling coming in that K-State would have the opportunity to have the best running attack they've had in probably 21 years, which that goes back to the 2003 season with El Roberson and Darren Sproles, who was probably the best duo in K-State history. But now you have a three-headed monster, and with Matt Wells bringing in his creative process to come up with new ideas for the offense, honestly, I don't know if we've exactly seen all of the creativeness that we're expecting from Matt Wells yet. But from Connor Riley, if he knows anything, it's that offensive line. And it's not as veteran as it used to be, but he knows that he has 6 or 7 guys that he can rotate in, and they're all going to be really strong with their run blocking. And right now, K-State averaging 6.98 yards per carry, which is 4th best in the country.
And at quarterback, I know a lot of BYU defensive players have mentioned him quite a bit. Avery Johnson, I'm sure every team that faces K-State this year in the Big 12, that's going to be a big storyline because he's one of the stars of the conference. I'm curious, though, Mitch, how has Avery Johnson progressed as a passer? We've always known about his running ability, but how is he looking from your vantage point as a passer this year?
Yeah, the spotlight's on his arm because when he played last year as a true freshman, he was just more known for his running. He had the 5 rushing touchdowns against Texas Tech and Lubbock that really put him on the map. Well, he just hadn't really seen him let it loose with the arm. And then the first game this season against UT Martin, there was one throw he probably tried to do a little bit too much on. He was trying to hit DJ Giddens up the seam on a seam route, and it was just a bullet pass, and it was an interception and not really a smart pass. He should have never thrown that ball. Ever since then, and this is what's been great about Avery, he's not making the same mistake twice. The Tulane game, it was a different kind of mistake throwing the football where towards the end of the first half, he had Sterling Lockett wide open for a walk-in touchdown, and Avery overthrew him. And you knew, just right there, that was eating him alive. He regretted it. He should have hit that. It was just maybe too wide open. Since then, and we saw this in the Arizona game, his accuracy has been much better. It's not going to be numbers that are going to blow you away, but he's been accurate, and he's probably better when he's mobile. So when I've seen his confidence grow is when he steps out of the pocket. He may scramble a little bit early. He's so fast to track down. His best throwing is when he's thrown against his body, which is crazy enough. He has been so accurate. Now we just hope that the wide receivers can be more involved. 4 of his 6 passing touchdowns have been to tight ends, the other 2 to running backs. And the wide receivers have there's been a lot of hype about him, maybe the deepest wide receiver room for K-State. Just need more of them to step up and help produce in the passing game.
Talking with Mitch Fortner from 1350 K-Man, covers Kansas State athletics. And you bring up the Tulane game a couple weeks ago. I'm curious to get more insight into that from your perspective. That was a 34-27 victory. It was crazy weather game, humid. I mean, even seeing the press conference and after the game, there's no indoor facility. They're doing it outdoors. Kind of a weird setup. It seemed like all around. What was it just the uncharacteristic mistakes by Avery in the offense that made that game a little closer than expected?
It wasn't so much the mistakes. They did struggle a little bit in the first half of just moving the football. First 2 games of the year, K-State goes 3 and out on their first possession. That kind of sparks a little bit of worry out of the fans that maybe things just aren't as smooth. Maybe Connor Riley isn't calling the right plays. Just a little bit of fear that I think settled down a little bit against Arizona. I think really it was more kind of on the defense. The defense had a bad game. They really did. They gave up a ton of passing yards to Darian Mensah, who's a redshirt freshman QB there for Tulane. And there was a lot of miscommunication. I mean, some guys were in zone, some guys were in man, and it left receivers just wide open, running loose and scoring some easy touchdowns. And luckily, the defense started to settle down as well in that game in the second half, and it was more bend but don't break. The thing about the offense, though, right now is that it's been a little bit of a slow start, but they've been a much better second-half team of putting points on the board and just being more consistent with moving the football.
What is the strength of this K-State team right now, in your opinion, Mitch?
I would say running the ball is number one. I would say on defense, I'm going to go with stopping the run. K-State is allowing less than 3 yards per carry. They're one of the best teams in the country right now of stopping the run. The defensive line is not getting, especially at the nose guards, we play a 3-3-5 defense. They're not getting the most praise other than stopping the run. They're really muddying things up in Uso Seamalu and Damian Ilalio. A couple of tough names there, but I'm sure at BYU you're quite used to that. Yeah. But things got a lot better from the Tulane game to the Arizona game, allowing 491 against Tulane overall in yardage, 324 against Arizona. The pass defense was a lot better. But right now, very happy with, tackles for loss, 8.7 TFLs per game. That's 13th in the nation. And K-State has been a real run stopper so far.
Is there any personnel injuries that you're monitoring this week heading into kickoff on Saturday night?
And Mitch, that's one of the things that's been a lot different than previous years, because in previous years we've had a lot of bad luck injury-wise early. The third game last year against Missouri, I think we were down 2 linebackers. Daniel Green, who was the true veteran on that defense last year, was out for the rest of the season with an arm injury after that game. Luckily for K-State, there's actually, believe it or not, no injuries to report. We were worried about a couple of linemen maybe not playing against Arizona, and they both played. And the great thing about Chris Kleiman, I see it as great, but as a reporter and as a guy that covers the team, maybe as an opponent, you like this information as well. But Coach Kleiman is typically pretty open about if a guy's going to miss the game or not. He'll typically just come out and say it. And he told us at his press conference this week that there's a few guys dinged up, but everybody should be good to go for Saturday.
That makes put the best product out there for both teams. BYU in a pretty good spot as well, except for that running back position. And you bring up Chris Kleiman. What are some of the standout traits of his teams, not just this year, but year after year since he took over this program after the second stint from Bill Snyder? What have been the traits? Has it been very similar to Bill Snyder, or what's maybe the big differences too?
Yeah, the big similarity is just discipline. There's not guys, once they're done with practice or whatever for the night, going out and doing the wrong things, and they're pretty locked in on football. Everybody believes in Chris Kleiman. He's a very easy guy to get along with, and that goes as well for the coaching staff. And what's been amazing here at K-State, so this is Chris Kleiman's 6th year. I think he's only lost maybe 3 or 4 coaches during that time. He's had the Connor Riley, offensive coordinator, has been around here since day one. Joe Klanneman has been around here since day one. So the coordinators have been here since Chris Kleiman has been here. And there have been so many teams out there trying to poach those coaches. As you can imagine, when you win a Big 12 championship in 2022 and you only lose one coach from that team is quite amazing. There's that. This team is very disciplined. You're not going to see them, get a whole lot of penalties or anything. They do the right things. There's not a whole lot of unsportsmanlike conduct things. I would say those are the 2 things that really stand out to me. That's some real Bill Snyder-like stuff that other than I will say there are some major differences actually. If you came to a game when Bill Snyder was the coach, the warm-up music for the players was like 80s, it's like 80s arena rock. And now it's more the stuff the players like to hear. That's the biggest difference.
I love it. You can follow him on X at Mitch the Fort. He's the host of The Game on 1350 K-Man, Wildcat Insider as well. And Mitch, appreciate the time. Looking forward to this matchup. I don't think BYU is going to get to Manhattan, I believe, until 2027. So it's going to be a minute for football until I get to see Manhattan out there. But can't wait for that day and looking forward to this matchup. Thanks again for the time.
Yep, we're going to be getting our coffee ready for a late one in Provo, and I appreciate the time, Mitch. Thank you so much.
That's Mitch Fortner here on KSLSports.com and KSL News Radio.